From the home offices of Ash and Flo, this is Unbillable Hours, a podcast about professional services marketing. Stick around to listen to our insights, tips, and best practices to improve your firm's marketing and even your career.
So, welcome everybody to this new episode of the Unbillable Hours podcast. Forgot the S there, Ash. That's awkward. We have
Okay, I'll do the quick intro. Hey, everyone, welcome to the new episode of Unbillable Hours. And Flo, you've got a really interesting guest here this time. Go on.
Yeah, by the way, I will not edit that out. Sorry. We have Pavol Sikula with us. Did I pronounce that correctly, Pavol? Sorry.
That's all right, yeah.
All right, brilliant. Who's the CEO and I think also founder of AskBrian, and that is something that piqued our interest because it's apparently an AI-powered digital assistant for business professionals like ourselves. So we thought we'd bring him on and ask him how, first of all, what AskBrian is, and then second of all, how we might use it in our marketing teams to save a ton of work and get into the weekends early. Is that correct? So
that sounds like a very proper introduction, Florian. So it's
brilliant.
It's better.
So what is AskBrian, and how did you come about building it? Maybe.
Okay, so first, thank you for having me, Florian and Ash. I'm happy to do this talk with you and to talk about multiple perspectives of our business. So the idea is very closely related to my history. So I've been for 15 years in management consulting, and I've seen that many hours go into unbillable hours, go into non-core tasks. We just take too much time and nobody likes to do them, but you need to do them over and over again. And what triggered me end of 2017 was the belief that for many of those tasks, there are digital services and data sources available. So when you spend too much time on researching stuff, if you spend too much time on translating, on converting documents, if you just would know the best digital services available and data sources, you could work not just much faster, but you would work better and have even more fun at work. So the idea was to create a kind of a digital being, a digital colleagues who never sleeps and does these annoying tasks for you. So this was the basic idea.
Takes care of all the partner requests to change the font size on slide 16 and that type of stuff? Or is it, because you mentioned data sources, I'm guessing it's more about research and fact finding and data analytics, or?
So in fact, Brian, as of now, has 24 skills, but the half of the requests are basically two kinds of skills he has. So the first is that our users in management consultancies, but also in marketing departments and product management departments, use Brian to translate complete documents into 100 languages. So how you can imagine that it works?
What?
You just send an email to Brian or an MS Teams message, and you say, hey, Brian, can you please translate the file from English to German, right? You attach the file to email or MS Teams message, and you get the answer within 1 or 3 MS Teams within 1, and via email within 3 minutes. And he translates the complete documents and keeps all your formatting. And this works with 100 languages. What's kind of cool.
Okay, but I don't get all 100 versions in 3 minutes. I have to specify the language. Okay.
Because kind of a skill variant for the marketers, then we could.
I was seeing Ash's eyes over there lighting up because he has to deal with countries. So, but okay, you still have to go one language by one. But still,
one language by one is still great because you have no idea the number of translation requests and the fact that you have to go through a person and make sure that a market unit has it, or sometimes even in case of talks, we need to bring a translator on and they'd like to see versions of scripts. So this saves so much time. So I know people would love this.
Okay, that was favorite skill 1. Now I'm curious. That was already killer. I'm curious about the second one.
Skill number 2 is another 25% of the requests are company analysis. So especially for consultants who want to analyze competitors, target clients, suppliers, and so on, you say, hey, Brian, send me the analysis of Siemens, right? So this works like that. So you don't need your own data subscription or some crazy tools to manage. You just send an email or MS Teams message, and Brian goes and gets the data from validated sources and provides it in excellent PowerPoint. So, and this is what he does also within 3 minutes.
Okay. Can I ask about the data sources for that? I mean, these are publicly listed companies, right? So you go into
so we are covering all publicly traded companies around the world, so approximately 50,000. And honestly, we tried in the first iteration, we just scraped the data from internet using Yahoo Finance and so on. But then when we checked the quality, we said, no, we just cannot send this to the user because it's not valid. So we started negotiations with Morningstar, Standard & Poor's, Refinitiv, and so on. And finally, we get an amazing deal with Refinitiv. That means former Thomson Reuters. That means Brian gets and pulls the data from Thomson Reuters and puts it in excellent PowerPoint. So our target clients or users can keep on working with this. So it's not in PDF or any other format or a kind of screen. You get excellent PowerPoint, which you can paste into your business case and other documents.
Right.
This is like a godsend for all the people who are doing account planning. Like Uta mentioned, whenever she's talking about that, this is great for them. And also for a lot of marketers who are doing all their pestle analysis because they want to look with their competitors to make sure that their next offering, at least marketing-wise, makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate to add feature requests. No, sorry.
No, I'm always very open. Yeah.
But here's the point. I mean, you should be getting something out of this conversation too. So here's something I made my team do when I was working at Accenture, and they kind of hated me for it. When planning time came around, which would be this time of the year, and we were thinking about content planning for marketing. I had them go into the last published financial reports of target accounts, like S1s. I don't even know what the English word for the stuff is they have to publish here in Germany, but they usually come with a letter to shareholders, forwards, and so forth. We used to pull those and go through and do what I would call a shitty linguistic analysis to sort of doing tag clouds and stuff to identify stuff. We could then show the business this is what your clients talk about. If they talk about investing, if they talk about so doing sort of a linguistic analysis to deriving topics that could be of interest, and then create planning content around that. And the only reason I would do this was that the business often thinks, or the account teams think they know, or sorry, that's wrong. They do know about very specific problems the client has. They do know those. The problem is they can't see to the left and right of it. So I always thought that is a value add my team can bring. We just look at the publicly available stuff and say, look, okay, we know all the pain points they have around their ERP system in their French organization. But look at this. This is what they say to their shareholders. This is the global stuff they want. And sometimes you would find gold
about the company, and this is how well the company is doing. And I understand. So this goes a little bit more into the qualitative area, which we could add. That the question is which provider to include, because we are testing many providers and build in the best available. And often the promise, it's not what then the reality is. So we are having a look, I don't know, at 30 solutions.
Maybe it's not a provider thing. Maybe it's a question of those weren't hundreds of accounts. I would make a list of 20 or something to keep it manageable. And what I didn't have is a tool I could feed this into, and just something that crunches the document analysis. If I give you 20 letters to shareholders, could you, and I don't even know how feasible that is. But sorry, I'm derailing the conversation.
Summarization of documents. This is probably what you are
I also like to add that this is something that's done at most of the system integrator type firms, namely the ones like Flo talked about and the others. Is basically we work with a lot of set of ecosystem partners, and often they promote certain specific case studies, they promote certain partnership events and all of these things, and all these companies look at it to see why is the partner featuring one more than the other. It's not necessarily about the amount of money exchange, it's more about the quality of the content. So that entire competitor analysis aspect is something that they usually get their marketing teams and offering teams working on quite extensively to come up with the kind of what should we be doing next kind of thing in planning.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the company skills also you can ask is send me the peer analysis of Siemens. That means what happens then. You don't get 1,000 information about Siemens, but you get a comparison of Siemens compared with 15 peers. So this is also, then you see a little bit more context about the company. And private companies, we are currently covering 4 million private companies in Germany, where we provide the financial information, annual reports as well. And we are negotiating with Dun & Bradstreet, so we get a global scope, because many want, especially when we talk with global consultancies, of course, they want to know the Americans, Chinese, and so on. Therefore, we talk with Dun & Bradstreet, who are covering 400 million private companies. But it's always also about readiness and about cannibalization concerns of our partners, because Brian is ridiculously cheap, I would say, comparing to the time and cost he saves. So we have a kind of different business model, democratizing some information and stuff. So it's not easy, but
the sellers of the Bloomberg terminal subscription don't like you, probably. I don't know.
Don't like you. Of course, we will not harm the power user segment, right? But
that's true.
Like for whom it's B and C tasks, yes, you don't need this expensive.
And I mean, also to that point, maybe the cannibalization. I mean, the people will be using the services anyways. Just right, the consultants do that, and they usually have subscriptions and all that stuff. They're just doing it manually, which takes tons of time.
And you have always new people who then don't know how to get the data, and you are waiting 2 or 3 days for this kind of analysis, which Brian now delivers.
Or I've been, and this is not just a comment of my former employer, I've been to many firms where people don't even know what subscriptions exist.
Yeah, and
like I've been working for 2 years as a massive global advertising agency, and then someone said to me, "Hey, didn't you know we have a Factiva subscription?" I was like, "We have." This stuff happens. Exactly. But I mean, can you just...
you get the idea, right? So we have one mega simple interface that I just cannot imagine it simpler. Just like send me the analysis of Tesla. I just cannot imagine it simpler, and integrating other data sources and digital services and putting them together. One example is, I believe, which shows this 1 + 1 can be more than 2, is that Brian translates also PDF documents, no matter if native or scanned documents, where he combines optical character recognition with the translation technology in one step. That means you can send a PDF to Brian and saying, "Hey, convert it to Word and translate it from Chinese to English." And he combines multiple technologies to fulfill this one request. So I think this is just cool. And I think this is just the beginning.
Very interesting. I think you explained what a time saver it can be. I wanted to talk about your business also in a little bit, where you guys are with your go-to-market. But before we do, you mentioned it. So AskBrian currently has 24 skills. You don't have to give the full list, but a couple more you might have.
So I would say what the most important one, as I said, is translation of documents, the analysis of companies. Then the third cluster are slide graphics, because I've spent as a consultant so much time with searching for icons and alternative ideas, how to show pyramids, funnels, and so on. So you can ask Brian for 100,000 of icons, PowerPoint icons, and templates. Then there is the conversion skill, because often you have kind of a competitor presentation or an old contract only as a PDF, and then the question is how to make it editable in Word. So it's the conversion. And then it's the last maybe mentionable, because it's also different kind of skill, is that he gives you guidance on 130 project methods. So that means he smarts his users up. You can ask Brian, "Hey, how to use the BCG matrix, or how to work with Porter's 5 forces." That he gives you templates and guidelines how to apply this method in your project.
All right. So Ash, this means that people can focus more on stakeholder management and working with the client.
Makes much more sense.
Ash's favorite point, and he's right to make it so. Cool. So I was going to ask you how. I mean, this doesn't sound like a hard sell at all to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree. So people say it's no-brainer, but the fact is, I thought, come on, we built it and it's sold by himself, but it's not, right?
We could have told you that never happens. You always need a marketing person. Just
yeah, I didn't deal much with marketing, so I'm excited to talk with you guys. But we are still searching. We didn't find how to do it, even though it's so extremely easy to explain and it delivers value immediately, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But serious question though, is it maybe an obstacle? And I've seen this with there are other automation tools out there. I'm just gonna there is process mining software and stuff. And I found that in some consulting firms, there's a certain hesitancy of using them because the feeling is, okay, what we're doing here is we kill billable hours, right? We can either use the software or we can charge, or we can utilize 2 junior consultants for 2 weeks doing that. I don't know. Maybe is that a barrier you run into at all?
So when we do our corporate sales to consultancies, sometimes this question pops up, but the challenge now in consultancies is to find people to deliver on projects, and the people are having long nights. So the people would embrace options how to improve or shorten the tasks, which really you don't pay a consultant 3,000 euros a day for translating and converting files. So and nobody wants to do it, right? So also these are the guys
that that's true,
the best, right? So this is not the problem. In fact, I don't know, the one of the challenges we have that the central buyer are in larger consultancies are research and knowledge departments. And I believe they see it as the beginning of the end. Of course, it's difficult then to talk about it, but the buyers then are afraid of their teams and their future in the company. When Brian needs 3 minutes for something, maybe they charge in internal analysis hours, right?
I could see that, and I think it's not even only the research and knowledge management guys. I mean, some firms have built massive capabilities, right? They have offshore, I don't know, slide writing centers or whatever it is, right? And you're like, that's a change for the entire firm if you guys move in and say, cool, or you have RII do it. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and you see that we make it simple for the user, right? So our professional user gets multiple kinds of skills, but the departments responsible now for all the services are completely different. There is research department, there is slide services, and there is maybe knowledge management as complete different department. So it's then who to sell Brian to, But we are finding, of course, ways, and of course, the bigger the company is, the more self-built solutions you have, and sometimes you don't want to give up on this because you have invested so much time and money into developing those. So therefore, small and medium consultancies are much easier to win.
I mean, this would be my advice, and you didn't ask for it, but I think mid-market is the place to go to begin, and then because the deal velocity will be higher, right? It's easier to find the right person, easier to get stuff signed, and so forth. And like you said, there's less legacy systems in the way, probably. Interesting.
Just to add, from an internal perspective, when we're working, I don't see this being a big issue for the research departments for a lot of places that I'm at, mostly because what they would see this is a time-saving aspect, because there's a lot of market analysis stuff that they need to they need some quick and dirty answers for, and some quick and qualitative answers for, so they can focus on what value they can bring. And that's where I see a lot of professional services firms moving ahead. So I don't see the risk from them as much as they would want to get their account teams start to use them.
Yes. So we have, in fact, there are amazing consultancies, big consultants with the research departments, which are saying exactly the same thing, right? Nobody in the research center, because they are also not too many, that going to self-service. So the repetitive standard research requests are doing automatically, and we do the more advanced and intelligent stuff. And
Good
this
point.
is the way to go, right? But sometimes it's just not fitting in the world of the people.
So
absolutely.
You're still finding, I call this the message market fit. Like, you seem to have product or market product fit. I like to inverse it. So there is a market, you have a product for it. Now the question is whom to talk to and how to convince them to get it.
So in fact, we are doing active business development, focusing now on the consultancies because the story works extremely well.
Yeah,
right?
sure. They have the pain, right? Yeah, sure. They incur the cost.
It's working well. And within 1 year, we have won 40 consultancies as clients. So it's kind of
Nice.
prove that it works, right? And now we are developing the business model further because we see some limitations because there are only 5 million management consultants around the world. So therefore we are developing further, and we go in two directions. The one direction is to foster the individual professionals market via website, right? So performance marketing and website, when we try to generate traffic, bring people to make the free trial and then to buy. So a regular I would say website based sales channel. And we will add also Brian as an app in the Microsoft Teams App Store, so you will be able to find Brian also in the App Store in Microsoft.
Yeah? So you have a product led motion then for small, like for the individual accounts, small accounts,
for the no-touch business. And then we are just launching right now, so we are proud that we have been now that since last week we are part of the PricewaterhouseCoopers startup program, and what we are developing with them is our really B2B approach, how to make consultancies our white label brand sales channel to corporate clients. Because Brian technology is modular and you can build your own assistant relatively quickly, saying assistant at Siemens.com. Yeah. And we at AskBrian, we want to leverage our technology. We don't want to do projects. So this is where I believe this is a way which also Celonis, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Salesforce Go, partnering with consultants and leveraging our technology. So this is, so to say, to move another direction, right? To more custom stuff.
I think, Flo, looking at time, this also answers the question that you had for Pavol on, like, what's the role of marketing in your go-to-market?
Yeah, curious about that. Do you guys do, it sounds very sales-driven what you're doing right now. Would that be fair?
So as of now, as we started, it was very direct sales driven. So using our network and we are talking with guys who know 1,000 consultants. So we did it very sales driven, but now we see there is a limit and it's not that well scalable. Therefore, we go to the B2C segment, even though Brian will never be used for private life in some regards, but these were individual professionals. And another way is building a partner network doing the marketing sales for us.
Interesting. Well, as you mentioned time, I hadn't even seen it, but you're right. So
I'm sorry, my answers were too long. Yeah, so sorry.
Yeah,
I'll continue to follow you guys' success, and I wish you lots of it, because that sounds like a really interesting product you've built, and maybe was helpful for our listeners. And not too much of an AskBrian commercial, but we really wanted to showcase this because if we think it's interesting, and all of us have done too many slides and spent too many hours on translating stuff. So there you go.
And marketers are an interesting target group. So if you have use cases in your area of activity where you say, this is stupid, I hate to do it, and just teach Brian.
I don't want to take too much of your time up, but I think that I had this question earlier and I forgot about it. It was like lots of the stuff you do taps third-party data sources, right?
Yes.
Externally. So what I think marketers would die for is a system that taps my internal sources to, like, a major pain we have is reporting, for example. Like, everybody has a market tech stack that's essentially a bunch of spaghetti, right? And there's 15,000 tools in there, and I need to bring the numbers together and create a report that works on a management or board level. It's painful. Just saying. I don't know if that's just a general direction. I think for marketers, a lot of that, taking data from 15,000 silos and then building one interpretation of it and then report on that interpretation, that's a huge
and that's not just for professional services, that's for everyone.
That's everywhere.
Everyone, yeah.
I mean, there are specialized tools for just that stuff. Maybe that could be a Brian thing, right? You tap into, was it Oribi or Google Analytics? I don't know, is a bad example, but like you could sort of fetch my stuff for me. I don't know, but that would be another one.
Yeah, I understood. I will not read on this because I think we don't have time for it. So we had a look at it, but we can do it in offline.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, I mean, in closing, this was fascinating. If you do, where can people find out more about, well, maybe you yourself, and then also, of course, AskBrian, where should we send them in the show notes?
Yeah.
So of course you can visit our website where you can read about it. So askbrian.ai. So ask Brian. We encourage people to ask Brian questions. And the cool stuff is that you can prove immediately if I'm telling fairy tales or if it's really working. So everyone can just sign up for a free trial. You don't need to put your credit card. Just try it out, make your experience, and we are looking forward for your feedback and maybe doing business. Yeah.
Cool. Two last questions. One is, why is it called Ask Brian? Who's Brian?
Who the hell is Brian? So in fact, there is a longer story behind it, but Brian is short. The people related somehow to Life of Brian from Monty Python's, and then it rhymes with Brian the Brain. Okay, so
it's an
self-ironic, and that includes the letters AI. Yeah, even though in the wrong order.
Gotta have those. You gotta have those. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And my last question was, so that means if this is successful, you'll never work in consulting again? Is that...
Also, in fact, I'm working in consultancy. In fact, my wife somehow wishes I'm going back to consultancy because, of course, you are losing so much income and prestige when you go to startup. But who is as
Tell me about it. Just kidding.
Yeah? But it feels like on the top of Maslow's pyramid. So I don't want to go back. I want to keep on rocking the story.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Ash.
Yeah, but this has been brilliant, Pavol, and also congratulations on the PwC Startup Accelerator thing. Didn't want to acknowledge that, but thanks for coming on the show. This has been a brilliant conversation. And Flo, do you have any other last thoughts before we let Pavol go?
No, that's all. I'm just gonna go out for dinner and ask Brian to edit the show. If that. So thanks for that. Thanks for that, Pavol.
Thank you very much, Florian, Ash. Yeah, great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Unbillable Hours. If you want more, tune in next week. You know where to find us.